What's up, guys? This is Byron here, and tonight I'm going to be talking about the pros and cons of Kings Island's Howling Haunt and how I would fix the event and the current state of the event, which is not bad, I'm not going to lie. The event is not even bad. I mean, not even as like a rundown as it used to be. But I'll explain more of that in a little bit. But what I will say is that before I start the video, I will have to let you guys know that there will be a little bit of ranting in the video, even though that I'm not against anything regarding Howie Haunt. But like the only reason that I'm basically ranting a little bit in this video is because I'm basically kind of expressing my feelings regarding some changes from Haunt and what they've done. And there's also going to be a little bit of strong language, like not as strong as, explicit language, but you know what I mean. I also want to let you guys know that this video is also inspired by the similar video that Nathan Spies made called The Fall of Chuck E. Cheese, where he made his pros and cons. And I'm making the summer one, but with Howling Haunt. So I want to give credit to him, shout out to him, go subscribe to the channel if you want to. But anyways, without further ado, yeah, let's get started. Howling Haunt, known as a PG-13 rated event at every Cedar Fair park, where all you fears here has been a part of the older generation's lives, myself included. The haunt is nowadays considered one of the best events to occur in theme parks like Kings Island. From mazes to scary zones to Sinister shows to even night rides, Kings Island has been putting on their one-of-a-kind event for over 20 years, starting with Fear Fest, which made its debut in 2000 before being replaced by a name that we're all familiar with, which is, of course, Howling Haunt, which, debuted in 2007. Recently, the event had its downfall, but now it's going through a possible uprising. But let me explain why and what fans have been talking about all those years. The downfall started in 2015 when they made a few major changes to the event, including a front gate facade, which is a nice touch, a modern front gate decoration which had gone through several changes over the years, the removal of their famous wall of monsters, new cosmetics and makeup for the scare actors, including the Blackbird, the Creepers, and the Undertaker, in addition to a controversial maze, Blackout, which no longer exists, a longtime show with the live band called Monster Rock, which I'll get to that later, and a decrease of mazes. The previous director of Kings Island's Howling Haunt, who happens to be a female, tried to make the event family-friendly for the past 4 years. However, she had recently left for good and has been replaced by a new director, which happens to be male, as he's making it intended for mature audiences as it once was, which I would say is like, oh, thank God. And I'll have you know that I'm not saying this to be misogynist. And no, I am not a misogynist. I am not against girls. I never was and I never will be. I was only referencing the genders, not to be discriminative, but to reference their identity. And guess what? Not all female directors want to do something, more family-friendly to the Halloween event, unless if it's a daytime Halloween event for kids. But you know what I mean. Because, everyone is like that. Regardless of their race or gender, for the love of God, do not go against me for any of that shit. And plus, I'm not making this up. One of my supervisors who knows everything about Haunt was literally telling me about this. And he knows this because he's been around directors and he has worked for Haunt before. Unfortunately, not everybody loves it the way it is today. You see, they've been having a lack of fog recently, and The Undertaker no longer does any hosting at the front gate like he used to. Well, here's my opinion on the current state of Howling Haunt. It's not bad at all. I think it's still good. But what it desperately needs is a lot of improvement and some more change than what it has been making. That's why I have a list of pros and cons for the seasonal event. First of all, let's get on with the pros. So far, the park is doing a great job making the haunt PG-13 rated. What I would like to say is that they need to keep it up by targeting that same rating. I'm glad that they added a new maze, which is a slight increase of mazes that the park is getting. Increasing the number of mazes clearly shows that they're stepping up the game, which also shows a slight increase in scare actors. I'm not gonna lie. Their new light show finale for Haunt isn't that bad, but it doesn't have much of a scary vibe to it. Though it is an interesting one, and I would love to see what they could do with those finales in the future. The park has also added a couple of new shows, which is nice to see. I hope that they continue to change and add more sinister shows for the years to come. Like Kings Island, you guys have a lot to offer. From statues of scary looking creatures to insane looking animatronics. What could be more interesting is something special that you could add, like an interactive booth called the Screaming Machine. Does that sound familiar to you, if you were a teenager in 2012? Well, one time Kings Island used to have one. They had it in the Fest House, and I'm sure the teenagers, even some kids and adults as well, would check it out and test themselves out to see how loud their screams are. I saw a photo online of two women having fun with it, which I couldn't find online recently, as I swear to God that I saw it somewhere on Google several years ago. But it turns out that it's no longer on there. If you know what I'm talking about, I think they should bring that interactive machine back, especially for new generations that are willing to try it out. Again, I don't have any photos of it, so I really doubt that's gonna happen regarding the Scream Machine to be revived, but Kings Island, if you know what I'm talking about, then I don't know, you might remember. And the background music in every area is great. So don't even change it to like any music that does not fit in any Halloween themed areas, like scare zones. Anyway, let's move on to the cons. First of all, people have complained about a lack of fog that the park is using, and that it is sparser. I heard the reason for this is that they need security to stop kids, teenagers, or adults if they create any disruptive behavior. Which I understand why they're doing it, but that's not an excuse to take the atmosphere away from the event that is a staple to it, especially from the very beginning. So, to make people shut up about this disappointment, I would highly recommend adding a lot more fog to the event than the amount of fog that you currently have, especially in the scare zones. Also, add more mazes, scare zones, and shows. People out there have been turning away from your event, and if you still want your event to continue, then just add more attractions to it. Come up with original ideas of any haunted attractions that could be better than ever, and make a couple of them gory and sexual. I mean, not all of them, but maybe a couple. Just like the way guys used to do so in the early days, like Club Blood, for example. I'll give you one example. If you are willing to demolish the former Son of Beast station that was once a station for that controversial coaster and later used as a Wolverine-type maze called Wolfpack, there is plenty of space that you guys could use where that station is standing to build a new building for a new maze. Like, you could rebuild the space as a new building for a maze where you can make a modernized Club Blood. Hell, you did the same thing with Slaughterhouse by building a new building for the attraction, which was once located in an action zone where the Chicken Shack is, but eventually moved to the new building in Rivertown to have more space, which the current location has been there since 2014. So, Kings Island, if you want to make your haunt even better, and if you want to revive Club Blood in a new way, or make something original, then do some developing for it. Isn't that one of your goals? Again, if you want to bring back Club Blood, you should maybe redevelop it as something like Club Blood, The Party Returns, or something like that. You know, like that sort of thing. You can make it scarier than the original. I'm not saying that it's happening, it's just an idea that came to mind. And speaking of revival, you could also revive one of your recent retired attractions, Backwoods Bio, but as a reimagined version of the maze. Plus, you could put it in its original location where the pathway to Rivertown is. I mean, why the hell did you relocate that maze to Tower Gardens for some sort of skeleton race that you did in 2016? I don't know, I'm just curious. And what about Tombstone Territory, but with a ton of redevelopment? You could either revive it as a scare zone in Rivertown, or add the original location within the train, you know, Kings Island, Miami, and Valley Railroad, but without a maze where guests could get off the train and walk through the maze, especially since you took it out for Mystic Timbers. Another example is that since I assume you were planning on relocating Shipwrecked to a new location in the park, which will most likely occur next year from what I know, you could either put it in an area between Planet Snoopy and Rivertown, or put it in the pathway that leads you to Rivertown. I would say relocate the scare zone to an area between Rivertown and Snoop. There's like plenty of space to expand it, including a dock that you're planning on adding. You could also make it scarier. You know, for now, I'm really glad that the removal of Shipwrecked is not permanent, and I hope it will not be. And you know why? Because they literally have some of these characters from Shipwrecked on International Street roaming around, which I assume that they are sticking around for quite a long time. And I assume that they are not getting rid of Shipwrecked anytime soon, so that's nice. But what we do miss the most, and that we haven't seen in a long time, is the Wall of Monsters that you guys used to do every Friday night when the park opens at 6. I know that you guys have done changes to it over the years, but I'll be honest, after watching videos of the Wall of Monsters that used to look cool, especially through the pics of what it looked like at the front gate, I thought the type of opening ceremony was a lot better that way. I mean, I get the rowdy behavior from guests, which is why you guys had to change that tradition for a while, but can't you guys bring it back? It made the event look cooler and chaotic. I also missed The Undertaker, portrayed by Mike Rochester, hosting at the front gate throughout the entire event. I know he's still around, but as a different character on International Street, but he made the event a lot better, especially the Overlord. It's like, what happened to him? Why can't he just be the host of the front gate anymore if they don't want to use The Undertaker? I would love it if you bring that tradition back, no offense. So again, the mazes and scare zones are the ones that you still focus on adding and subtracting, which is okay. But to be honest, just be careful about what you're trying to remove because we've lost several haunted attractions over the years. I need to talk about the change with maps. So hear me out on this Kings Island, and that goes to City Fair itself. I know that you guys are trying something new by doing anything digital to make money, especially in today's society. But you don't need to go fully digital. You guys did this last year, and I wish you could have continued to do so. But you could still have both physical copies of maps and digital maps on your app. And here's the thing, not everyone is going to use your app when they come to the park unless it's necessary, like mobile ordering for food or looking at wait times for the rides, or, buying tickets or passes, those sort of things. Now, let's focus on the shows. The shows that Kings Island has for Halloween Haunt are great. And we got 2 new shows for this year. But let me say this, the lineup for the fall is good, but not as great as I expected. Let me tell you what I mean. So, I'm glad you guys added Nightwalkers to the International Showplace, which actually is my wish, since it's a Halloween version of Always Sports, off the rails. And I heard good things about it. And also Terrorizing at the Bandstand, which does look interesting. But to my knowledge, it's not enough to complete the new material of Sinister shows as a whole. The only old show that has been kept and that Kings Island treats like it's cursed is the never-ending Monster Rock. For those of you that don't know, Monster Rock is a live musical review show that features a live band and classic rock music, and is a Halloween version of one of the park's previous summer shows, Let It Rock. It has been performing since 2015, and it went through major changes throughout its run. Since then, the Fest House hasn't had any new Sinister shows for the fall. Now, don't get me wrong, I like Monster Rock, especially their music, but what's the point of keeping it for a long time that nobody expected? I even talked about how I would love to see a different show than Monster Rock in a group chat recently, and someone had told me from what he knows is that they might be keeping the show for a longer time because, it's a kid-friendly show, or it's a more family-friendly show, which is absolute BS. After all, there is no way that any type of haunt show at Kings Island surpasses 7 to 8 years. There is no way in hell this would ever occur. I assume the real reason they kept the show was because of the live band, which is River City, and they make really good music, don't get me wrong. As much as I would love the park to continue using live bands for future shows, it's very obnoxious how they have the show that they keep constantly recycling. It's I get that you have a lot of ideas maybe, and that you're trying to be financially cautious, which is understandable, but you should also listen to fans and guests that want something more original than Monster Rock, because life is not all about Monster Rock. And guess what? You guys used to have other Sinister shows in the Fest House, like Ghouls Gone Wild, Half-Pin Brawlers, and Graveyard Shift. What the hell happened to the tradition of changing shows every once in a while? I mean, if you want to keep Monster Rock for a little bit, that's up to you. But if you're ready to replace it with a new show, I will love it. I hope this truly happens for next year because that could attract more people to check something out if they don't want to do mazes, carry zones, or rides, or do every one of them all together. So you could bring in another show that features a live band similar to Rocktoberfest at Carowinds, or create a new musical review that's either zombie-themed or Wolverine-themed, even though you tried doing that over a decade ago but never brought it to life, which, yes, I am talking about one show that I actually ended up learning about, which was it was going to be Howling at the Moon. Or if you don't want to come up with your ideas, you could at least revive one of your old shows from the entertainment department. Now, I know it's not considered an original thing to do, but that's what you guys used to do for a while, to make money. You know what I miss the most? Girls Gone Wild. I thought that show was so good, especially when they revived it the first time. I honestly wish they could have improved the show by adding spark effects, which they did in the original version, and not having the staircase glued to the center of the stage as they had it for The Boys Are Back. I know it's old, it's from the 2000s, but you brought it back once. That's just like how you revived another 2000s musical review show called Flashback Totally 80s. You did it twice, but had to make minor changes. Think about it. To be honest, I'm glad I'm not the only one that hopes for Monster Rock to meet its fate, because one of my good friends, who is one of my supervisors, has the same hope for it as well. Now, Terrorizing does look good, but I'm not sure how long it will last. What I found out, although I'm not sure if it'll be entirely true, is that Blood Drums confirmed to one of their fans on their Facebook page that they are working on trying to come back to Kings Island for Howling Haunt. If that's true, then that will be both unexpected and awesome at the same time. I will love it if that show returns, which I assume it would be next year. If not, then keep it the way it is today. I don't care. You know what could be interesting to add to the event? Maybe the fireworks, which I doubt they'll ever do that for Howling Haunt since they do the fireworks for every summer and New Year's Eve. What I'm pointing out is a parade for the event. It's where the scare actors roam through the parade route without any floats. They have one at Worlds of Fun, which looks very cool. I wonder if Kings Island or any other Cedar Fair park could get one in the future. And last but not least, an issue that has been going on for a very long time with the park not using the Kings Island Theater for any Sinister shows. My only problem with Kings Island and Howling Haunt itself is that they barely use the theater for any shows in the fall. They only use it for both the summer and Winterfest, which I'm not gonna lie, but the shows they do in the summer and during Winterfest, to me, they're cool. The only times that they used the theater were when they had Torture Chamber in 2007 and Ed Alonzo in 2013, when he expanded the shows in the fall, and not just the summer. They even used it for an escape room in 2016 and 17 called The Viewing, which was only in the lobby, and it doesn't count as a Sinister show, which it wasn't. Duh. I mean, I understand that they use it for, quote, haunt space, like when they do makeup backstage, even though they moved the entertainment warehouse that was in that venue for a while, which moved to their old building in Action Zone where the original Club Blood and Blackout used to be, and that they use it in the fall for rehearsals for Winterfest shows, from what I heard, like Charlie Brown's Christmas Spectacular, which they do perform in that venue. But here's the thing, that is not an excuse to go ahead and refuse to use the venue for a haunt show. So if you want to add a show to the Kings Island Theater for Halloween and keep it that way for the years to come, then freaking do it. No offense. And I don't know, maybe next year if you want to. Hell, you could bring in an indoor show like Midnight Syndicate, which is a musical duo that performs gothic music. Hell, I even listened to some of the band's music, and they are very talented. I'm not gonna lie. So, if you're interested in doing this, KI, you should bring the musical duo to the park. People would love it. Even though they do perform at Cedar Point. I don't actually think it'll hurt at all if you ask them if they're interested in expanding their shows to other parks. Like, that would be awesome. And again, that could attract showgoers and haunt fans to have heard or have seen this show before. But hey, you could still do rehearsals for the Winterfest shows, but in the Human Resources building during the haunt season. And last but not least, let's talk a little bit about Tricks and Treats Fall Fest that Kings Island has. They've had it since 2020, replacing the Great Pumpkin Fest, which was their previous event. Now, let me explain a little bit about this. Now, overall, I have worked during this event, and don't get me wrong, it's kind of cute, especially when they have shows and activities in the trick-or-treat stations, and also the food offerings that they have, which the food offerings are really cool, and the only thing that I like about the event. But the only change that I do suggest is one thing, and that regards the background music of Plant Snoopy. I'm sorry, but I cannot stand listening to some of the songs in that area, like the Martian Hop, which really gets on my nerves. It didn't get on my nerves at first, but nowadays, as I listen to it, it does. I'm sorry, but I would rather listen to other corny howling songs other than that. And also, I'd rather not hear the kids' cover of Ding Dong the Witch is Dead anymore. Like, I sincerely apologize, but if I were you, and if I were to change the background music, I would rather play other songs like The Witch Doctor or This Is Halloween from The Night Before Christmas. And what about Thriller? That's a really good song. And also to the fans who are confused and skeptical about King's Island replacing Howling Haunt for just Tricks and Treats as a whole, kind of like what Great America and Valley Fair did. I actually talked to my supervisors about it, and they told me that since Kings Island makes a lot of money, and that Kings Island is one of the large city fair parks, there is no way that they are going to get rid of Haunt anytime soon. In fact, I do not see Kings Island's or Kings Dominion's versions of Howling Haunt going away anytime soon. So, yeah, regarding Haunt's fate, it is not entirely happening. So, you guys don't really have to worry for now. Not many pros and cons that I have here, except I do have one more request. Could you at least bring back the animatronic dude in an electric chair to the park, please? I thought the prop was awesome. I'm not sure if you guys removed it due to maintenance costs, but that was a sad mistake when you guys took it out. Oh well. Like, you can either bring him back to where he was in Rivertown, or bring him back to his original location on International Street. And are you guys even gonna bring back a few scare zones in the future, like Dance the Macabre or Zombie Mall? Those scare zones were a nice touch for the event, in my opinion. Well, mostly Zombie Mall. I'm not telling you what to do or anything, and I'm not bossing around either. All I can say is to continue to try something new without even failing to reach that goal, to continue to use it for a longer time. I'm just giving you suggestions and recommendations to explain what was better and what could have been better that you don't realize. So I do hope you could use these pros and cons of mine for future reference. So that's all I want to talk about. I really hope that you guys do understand regarding what I've just talked about here. And Kings Island, if you're watching this, I really hope that you understand what I'm also talking about as well, and that you could use most of them for like a future reference if you decide, because I basically know that you guys really love to do anything, especially you, my kids, because like I know you have a lot of goals, and if you want to use them as like your goals, feel free to do so. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Check out other content that's coming soon and what I currently have on YouTube. And yeah, just have a spooky time. And this is me, Byron, signing off. Peace.